Before I get started, I'd first like to bring this mic down. I want to thank those of you who gave me well wishes and who told me good luck. It's actually helping me right now stand here because it's kind of scary. So the original title for this talk was How to Put Adversity in a College Essay. I got the idea from a college essay writing workshop that I did at my old high school. I met with the facilitator before meeting with the students. He warned me that some of their stories were very dark and that they were working with school psychologists and guidance counselors, and he really didn't know how to support them. He shared with me their stories of homelessness, food insecurity, and family challenges that made going to school almost impossible. Some of their accounts included immigration from war-torn countries, prostitution, physical and sexual abuse. After listening to their stories, my heart breaking further and further with each story, we were quiet, absorbing the enormity of their situations. Finally, I broke our silence and said, "One of those stories sounds like mine." The facilitator had known me most of my adult life. He was in shock when I shared my story with him. He asked me if I'd be comfortable sharing it with the students, and I agreed. I was astounded that my story got the same quiet that I gave theirs. And after, they actually clapped. And then shortly after that, I attended Sally Pinchot's chapel talk. After hearing her story, I realized that I worked at a high school that had students with challenges, and that my story might be helpful to one of you. Because if I'm strong and you are strong, together we are strong. Josiah was correct. My parents don't have high school diplomas. But what he failed to mention is that my mother is functionally illiterate. Her reading is probably at a third grade level, and her math is even worse. My parents' influence on my education was negligible. They did their best, but where we lived was awful. I grew up in New York City during the crack cocaine epidemic. It was not easy. To make matters worse, I actually have no natural talent. I'm not that smart. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't play an instrument, and I can't make a jump shot if you put a gun to my head. I had no concrete plans for my future. Focusing on the day-to-day was hard enough. My life goals came into form for me at the end of my 8th grade year at a family friend's high school graduation. I saw the valedictorian give her speech, and it was announced that she was going to NYU. I heard someone say that NYU was a good college and that she was going to be really successful in life. And all of a sudden, just like that, it clicked. All of the things my teachers had said about education being the key, I knew that was going to be my ticket. When I stepped into my high school on day one, I knew I had to get into a good college and believed that if I got into a good college, I would be able to get a good job. And if I got a good job, I would be able to take care of my family. And I would be able to get a house for them so that we would never be homeless. And I would be the one to make sure they never had to work in the streets again. Because if I could be strong for all of us, together we could be strong. To do this, I knew colleges started looking at my high school transcripts from the 9th grade. They looked at extracurricular and volunteer activities. And they looked at your SAT scores. You guys have no idea how lucky you are. But how was I going to get into a good college? Again, I wasn't particularly smart, and I didn't have any talents. I have a story about this kid who was in all of my math classes, Andre Pedraza, who when the teacher would explain problems, he always saw a different way to do it. For me, I could only do it the way the teacher showed, and thankfully the teacher assigned 20 to 30 problems of homework a night. It actually sometimes took me doing it 20 to 30 times before I even understood it. This guy would always get higher than me on tests no matter how much I studied, And to add insult to injury, this guy didn't even do his homework. And when I wrote essays, those essays would be returned looking like someone bled all over it. Red ink everywhere. I thank Miss Roberts and God for rewrites so I could save my papers from flatline. Yes, Andre was better in math than me, and my essays looked like they'd been through a drive-by, but despite that, I kept trying my best. What did my best look like? First, I knew that when I missed school, it was always a disaster to try to catch up. Again, I'm not that smart, so I couldn't figure that stuff out without my teachers. I made it a point to ask questions. No matter how stupid I looked, I just wouldn't accept not knowing. When my trig teacher threw chalk at students for asking questions, I made arrangements with my homeroom teacher, a chemistry teacher, getting up at 5:30 a.m. to meet him before school just so I could get help. Doing all of my homework every night and paying close attention to those essay rewrites was critical, just so I could know what I didn't know and know what questions to ask. Having smart friends helped too. Many times my friends explained things to me better than the teachers. I was willing to learn from anyone. I took advantage of every opportunity teachers presented. Things like extracurricular clubs, Saturday morning classes, summer educational programs. As Mr. Downs says, I showed up, turned it in, and turned it up. So what did all that hard work get me after 4 years? Well, I got the 4-year Perfect Attendance Award. I was one out of a graduating class of 450 that got that award. When the announcements for class rank came up, it turned out I was valedictorian. Funny story. A girl in my class actually said, "You're the valedictorian? I thought you were a bimbo." Yeah, I asked that many questions. I wasn't even a great swimmer, but because I showed up every day and tried my best, my coach and my teammates voted me as captain of my team junior and senior years. I had been responsible with all the opportunities given to me. I even had glowing recommendations from teachers to prove it. Obviously, I don't have those recommendations now, but in my high school yearbook, my AP Calculus teacher wrote, "Dear Alberta, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. You have an exceptional approach to learning, and you've made an endless commitment to your education. I felt so proud to have you as a student. You move in such a way that all of us can learn from your daily performance and dedication to excellence." And she actually capitalized daily. This was Dr. Aisha Sales. Every day, I showed up, I turned it in, and I turned it up. My college essay, which included those accomplishments and that adversity, did get me into a good college. And I went on with that attitude to earn a BS in chemical engineering from Yale. For some, that's considered one of the hardest majors there. Fast forward to today, my mother lives with me. My father did also up until he passed, and my siblings, my cousins, my aunts and uncles have all stayed at my house. And I've been able to provide food and financial support and strength and be a blessing to my family. Because I became strong, they became strong, and together we became strong. So, Millbrook students, here are my questions to you. What's your story? What are your goals? How will an education help you reach them? Use your story to give you strength and focus. Let college admissions officers know that despite your adversity, you have accomplished X, Y, and Z. Tell them you're creating your story. You are the one in control. You are nobody's victim. And that what they throw at you has nothing on what you have already been through. Realize that the strength of your adversity determines the weight of your potential. It takes thousands of pounds of pressure to make a diamond. If you don't have a story, don't worry. Make smart goals for yourself. And let your story be the sacrifices you make to accomplish those goals. And write those goals down on a piece of paper and stick them somewhere that you will see it every day so that you are reminded of what's at stake. If your grades have not been their best, don't get discouraged. Ask yourself why and make goals for yourself to dig yourself out. Everybody loves a good comeback story. You have a lot of amazing adults around you who want to support you to be your best person. Take advantage of your resources. It makes for a great character story. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. My words to any of you who may be going through it right now, who through no fault of your own have been born into adversity that people write stories about, I want to share a poem with you by Langston Hughes, Mother to a Son. Well, folks, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I've been a-climbing on and reaching new landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So scholars, don't you turn back now. Don't you sit on those steps, 'cause you find out that life's kinda hard. Don't you fall now, 'cause I still going, honey, and I still climbing on. And you know life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Well, folks, that's all I've got. I've given you the secret to my success. And in that sharing, I've made myself vulnerable, and it's really uncomfortable. But I did it because if I'm strong and you're strong, together we're strong. Thank you.